Okay, I think we are live on YouTube now. So hello everybody. This is going to be today is the 15th of May of 2024, is the meeting for the Node.js Build team. So first of all, there is any announcements that anyone want to make? Mhm.
There are a couple of issues currently that are being looked at. So those are labeled incidents on the issue tracker. Um, I think probably most of them are in progress and fixed. The GitHub bot still isn't working, and that might be because uh, there, we did do a revert to one of the dependency updates yesterday, but that we may have reverted to not the correct version that we were supposed to go to. So the short story is the GitHub bot is running on a server that needs to be upgraded. We know we've had to upgrade it. We haven't been able to get around to it. So it's currently running on an operating system where the it has to run Node to run the GitHub bot, and the version of Node on there is like Node 14. It's like really old, and the dependencies now are all dropping support for those versions. So yeah, we do need to update that server, and that would require probably someone to figure out if the Ansible scripts. I don't think the Ansible scripts install everything that needs to be installed, so I don't think it handles setting the secrets, because it was all written before we really had the secrets repo and automated a lot of the secret setting. So the setup of the server could be Ansible, but I think the current scripts probably would only go some way towards installing things, and there would still need to be a lot of config, which we don't have documentation for because none of us who are currently active in the working group were around when that server was set up. So I guess the fact that it's broken at the moment means that we're not actually losing anything from the server not being up. But yeah, I mean, it needs work. We need to work on it. In the past, what we've done is, back out changes to the bot when we found they've been incompatible with Node 14. But I mean, that's not going to be tenable for a long term. But yeah, at the moment, if people request CIs, you'll probably find there are no comments being posted back to the PRs or actual status in the bottom of the PR where it normally shows you the build status. And that's all because the bot currently isn't running because it can't start on Node 14. So that is an issue that's open and being looked at. There were some issues with one of the Jenkins workspace machines. That is back online now, thanks to Ryan, actually. So, I mean, that's a good example of the Linux LFITs, like, stepping in and looking at something. I haven't actually seen, I haven't checked yet whether the jobs, I know it's back online. I haven't checked if the jobs going through it are okay. So it went down because we rebooted it and it didn't come back up. And now it's back up. So we need to check whether it's still behaving, whether it's behaving as expected, or if it's hitting the same weird behavior as it was before we rebooted it, which was that it sort of started jobs, but then seemed to get stuck and not, it said the job was running, but this was like hours and hours later with no new output to the logs. So it's a bit weird. Yeah, it's yeah, the probably lesser priority, the Coverity static analysis was broken, but again, we've got a temporary band-aid solution in place for that. Michael Zasso put that in. So again, yes, there were lots of things that went slightly awry beginning of the week over the weekend, including the nightlies, and that was to do with the Python versions on the release machines being there was a new GUIP version dropped into Node, and that seemed to drop support for Python 3.6. So the test machines were all running newer Python because we needed them to build V8. That's because the Linux machines in the test CI are capable of running the V8 CI, but we don't run the V8 CI on the release machines. So in the past we updated Python on the test machines to be able to run the V8 CI, and the release machines were still running the default Python 3 on the RHEL 8, which is 3.6. So the GUIP version that went in last week doesn't seem to be working anymore on Python 3.6, and upstream Python 3.6 is end of life. I mean, technically, I guess in RHEL it's still supported, but yeah, updating Python on the release machines has fixed the nightlies and the Node 20, well, potential Node 22 proposal. So yeah, those are all things that weren't tagged for this agenda, but they all sort of
Yep.
happened beginning of this week.
Okay, that were a lot of announcements, but yeah, thanks for all the context, Richard. Any additional things for the announcements? Okay, I will move to the first topic in the official agenda, which is the issue 3686, which is related to the infrastructure for Orca. Basically, just to give you an update, the last meeting we made some discussions about the final arrangements on the machines and so on. It's more or less clear the path to go. If you check out the issue in the first comment, there's like a list ongoing thing. So I finished to do the onboarding with Rajan. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. The idea now is Ryan will take ownership on the macOS 13 implementation. So just to give you an update to everybody, we don't have yet solved when we are going to have the ARM new nodes for Orca, but we still have all the Intel ones from the past. So basically, the idea is to start adding macOS 13 to the Intel ones, saying that there is an currently issue ongoing with the ARM machines, like the bare metal ones that are part of the Mac Stadiums, not part of Orca, but the same provider. Currently, we needed to disable the CI regarding macOS ARM because of both machines are down. One of the machines, both machines have some issues in the past with SSH access. We reset one of the machines before the 22 Node.js release was live, and the problem we have there is regarding the Python version of the Python environment. So there's where we go. So the expectations here is to delegate this also to Ryan.
Yeah, and I think that one would be like I guess like we were talking earlier, it's like the Equinix thing is a longer term thing, but we also need like the quick response kind of like, hey, this went down, we need to get it back up kind of. So that this one falls more into that, right? Like we've got a gap in testing until that's fixed.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the next topic on the agenda, which is regarding the extended Azure credit, which is the issue 3672. Let me pass the link on the chat.
I haven't heard anything more from either Stefan or Chell, but I'm hoping since the deadline has passed and the machines haven't disappeared, that was sorted. But maybe we need to just double check before we close.
Yeah.
So I mean, they did say they were handling it, and I know Ben reached out to check whether he should be on any accounts so that he gets notified as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the deadline was the 10th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the 10th was last week.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we're in the grace period. Yeah, I will add a comment like saying like any news on this, and let's see if if we can get a response.
Okay.
But yeah, I think
confirm that you've done it because they still seem to be working.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the machines going down yet. So
Okay.
yeah, I think we have some discussion around it maybe 2 weeks ago or something on the private mailing list. Maybe I think it might be that maybe was Stefan saying or Joao saying that they are leading on this. So with Ben also. So I think maybe solved, but we are not aware of. So yeah, as the machines are working and so on, probably it's there. I just posted a comment. So let me also include the comment on the notes so we can do a follow-up later on easily. Yep. Okay. So next topic in the agenda is regarding the replacement for Equinix machines, which is the issue 3597.
Yeah, and Ryan has posted an update in there. He has asked for a bit more access, which I think I'd be okay giving him. Maybe we should open another issue just to cover the access bit. But yeah, I guess we just need to make sure that there's no objections from the working group to giving him further access. I mean, I don't know at this point whether we just give him full access or we increase it a bit further to extend to like the release machines, and then I mean, effectively, it feels like if we are going to ask them to take over, potentially that would have to eventually become built in for level access anyway. And I'm comfortable with if it's rhymed specifically rather than like a service account, I'm quite comfortable with that. But yeah, I don't know how everyone else feels. And yeah, he's been looking at machines, and he has access to the Equinix to the MNX account that's going to replace the Equinix MNX account, and was asking just a few questions on like these machines, what they're for. He wants to fix the Grafana machine because he wants to see in Grafana. I think he wants to use Grafana to look at the machines that are there, but the Grafana machine was actually offline, and Brian's gone into the machine to look at it, and apparently the server had crashed because it ran out of disk space or filled the disk or something. So he's got it back online, but I think someone in the working group needs to look at the disk space issue on that Grafana server. But again, this is so yeah, there is some progress in this issue that Ryan's been looking at it and asking for more access. I have given him access to the Equinix account that Build owns, which is just the two Jenkins Workspace machines, which also need to be migrated. I think he already had access to the Node Core account, but if he doesn't, then we'll have to ask Brian to give him access to that. But there's not much to see in the Node Core account because it's two SmartOS machines, and then all the actual machines in Ansible are, I think they're called zones on SmartOS. They're basically VMs running inside the two SmartOS actual machines. But I think the plan was in MNX that they would actually be separate servers rather than something running virtually underneath a larger server.
Yeah, I think Ryan already showcased good confidence level and a good skill set, and so far seems like quite aligned with the culture that we have in the build team for now. So yeah, if I remember well, he has already access to all the test machines, and also we granted him access to the release machine because he needs to set up some of the release machines for the macOS environment. So yeah, if we want to promote him specifically as individual to the admin level, I think that's a good idea. Aside,
I think specifically he was asking for Jenkins admin access. We could be we could be more cautious and say like, we could give you read access. What do you not have read access to? But if we trust him, maybe we just give him the admin access, and then we don't have to figure out, what can you see, what can't you see.
I would at this point I'd be okay with us doing what's easiest. Are you saying like let's just give him infra level access or just admin access to Jenkins?
I would be happy giving him infra level access, but obviously if other people in the work group would like would prefer to proceed more cautiously or disagree with that, then that's the conversation to have. So how about if I open an issue proposing something, and then we can follow that up in GitHub. But yeah, I mean, I kind of see that if we extend the access to him, but it's not full access, then probably down the line in another couple of weeks or another month, we'll just then have let's go a bit further again and a bit further, and if we're going to trust him anyway, maybe now we have that trust, but again, that's my opinion versus everyone else in the working group. So yeah, I mean, he hasn't asked for full access yet, but given that he's asking for more access and more access, I think eventually it will just come to the point where we give him access. Especially since we're asking him to recreate machines which are effectively going to be infra machines. So
correct. It's like
without the access, he may be able to recreate them, but then maybe he won't be able to run the playbooks, or he won't be able to check that they're working. And while we'll be around to help guide and assist, I think if we eliminate the we don't have access issue, then that'll be one less thing to worry about, and then we can concentrate more on actually getting the stuff done. That's my opinion.
Richard,
anyway.
you're going to open an issue to propose.
Yeah, I'll open an issue.
On
Yeah,
that, was there any
No, there was
timeline?
Sorry?
On that issue, was there any timeline, or like I
No,
know there's been
well,
some back and
so
forth.
we kind of said with Ed that we target the end of April, or was it the beginning of April? I can't remember which round it was. Might
Sometime
be the
that's
beginning of
passed.
April, but it was in the past. And then I think we focused on the nearform migration because we knew the nearform machines were going to lose. We were going to actually lose them. They were going to be turned off. So Ed basically said, "Look, please migrate." He's not going to leave us in the lurch and turn the machines off without us having replacements and migration. But he equally didn't want us to drag our feet. So it's good now that there's more activity and progress. It sort of went quiet for a month, which I think was a bit of the worry. So yeah, as long as we can make progress. And other things in the issue were things like asking about SmartOS versions, and I kind of asked him to talk to Brian and the MNX people because they're more familiar with SmartOS, and the questions are like, oh, SmartOS and 18 and 20 seem to be out of support. I mean, there might be. and saying, I don't know what our testing policy is, and I'm happy to follow, if MNX have an opinion on what SmartOS versions we should be testing on, I'm happy to follow that. I'm not going to insist that we don't actually release binaries on SmartOS Node. That was something Joyent said we could stop doing. So yeah, if there's disagreements about whether we should be doing SmartOS binaries, Joyent at the time told us we could stop that, or told us they thought it was a better idea to stop that. So we've continued doing the testing, and I'm happy to test on whatever version the people invested in SmartOS, which is MNX at the moment, are willing to provide the support on.
Okay, so like there's some activity, but we're not like there's not a. I guess it's just working now through the issue. There's been some questions back and forth, but we don't have a sense of like there's a target of the end of the month or anything like that. Just work to hopefully get it done.
Yeah, and this is why I think if Ryan's doing multiple things, we really need to steer him as to towards what we think the highest priority thing is. So again, I don't think this needs to be fixed today, but equally we can't just let this drag on and on and on, because there is an expectation from Equinix that we are out at some point without having a hard deadline. So again, it's kind of like it's not immediate, but we did sort of indicate would have been in the past. So I think we're now we're working on their goodwill, and I would rather not test that, not have to get in the position where that we have a good relationship with Equinix. I don't want that to deteriorate.
Yeah, I think it would be a good point, like we were talking a little bit earlier, is like to actually start using the ticket system, and I bet you in that it has a priority.
Yeah,
so like, you ought to be able to be like system down, which we expect to be like start working on it right now, versus the it's
Great.
urgent. It's got here's the deadline, right? Like we could probably even has a deadline in.
Okay.
So I think Ulysses, you said you had access to their Jira, so if you can share that with everybody else, we should probably all sign up and.
Yeah, we can. I can ask Ryan also, or maybe Vanessa, to do a little bit of public message, maybe on the build team, to explain us like how to do that. But yeah, I remember it's part of the Jira of the Linux Foundation, kind of one of the subdomains. I can look for it, ask them for
I think to start with, just getting the build team aware of that. But I think long term we need to have something written down, probably ideally in the build repo, because I think ultimately we're going to have to get to a situation where the project as a whole needs to know.
Right, they can ask.
Yeah,
right.
If people are saying, I can't land my PR because the CI is broken and there's the machine down, or none of the Mac OS ARM machines are online or something. being able to know how to raise that ticket wherever that needs to be raised. And I'm hoping it isn't going to be restricted to like a small, that it's not going to be restricted to a small people. That means that every issue has to go through the build working group that needs to pass an issue on to someone else to then get it resolved. But yeah, I mean, that's a long-term thing. But I think, if there is going to be a public ticketing thing, which is not GitHub or it's a different GitHub or whatever it is, I think we need to have that documented. Well, I'm thinking in the build repo, but maybe it could be in the Node repo. But somewhere which says.
I think to start asking them to PR in how can build team members open issues would be the like that. I think that's the way to start, because we don't necessarily want all those to become like totally opaque. Like as soon as they open the JIRAs, I don't think we'll be able to see them. But I do totally agree with your long-term vision of like, hopefully the build team doesn't have to be in the middle of these, but we'll need to figure out how like the build team can still have some visibility of them at the same time, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I think for now, like, Ulysses, you're going to ask them, right? Like, I think a PR would be the right thing to ask for. Can you PR into the build repo? Here's how build team members can open issues, right? And
yeah, I think probably we can. I mean, let me share one ticket. I just found that one for the time that we make the information dump.
okay.
Yeah, I think if you have an account on the Linux Foundation, maybe, then it should be able to allow you to create ones. I mean,
So
I
you
don't
log
think I
in
have,
with, and I see it is your limit.
yeah, I don't think I have like a special account or special permission level or something. I think like,
I can see that issue without logging in. I mean, I presume that you might need an. Well, I don't know actually whether you need to log in to be able to create issues, but I can at least view it. So
yeah, it's the view is open, that for sure. And for creation, I think we might need.
no, actually, I don't see an obvious create button, so I probably do need to log in. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm logged in and I cannot create new issues.
That's what I just did. I'm sure they don't just let anybody create issues, but like,
So maybe it will be a different process. I don't know, or maybe there's something else that I guess maybe just ask him like, would it be useful if we were able to open, or how does he want the work tracked? If he's happy to track it through GitHub, it's fine. But it's kind of like, how are we expecting this to work? How can we indicate to him what needs to be looked at and what of that is the highest priority?
I think it's more than that. Like we need an SLA that says like we open an issue here and it will be looked at within an hour or whatever it is, right? Like it can't be 2 weeks from now when the machine is down later on. That's
yeah, we can discuss that with them. If you want, I can take lead on this, and I can discuss with them and see and came up with a markdown process more or less structured. So we know what happened. And also what filters should we use in Jira and how to subscribe, because if we start to have like one place for public issues from the organization and then another one from the Linux Foundation, and discussion happening both can be tricky to follow. So yeah, I will try to understand how that can be done. And then we can try to document it.
I think short term, we might like want an issue in the build repo, which then has like, here's the Jira ticket, if it's like, we don't want this to be the way forever, but like if in the short term it was issue in the build repo, build team member opens an issue in the Jira that's and paste it in saying like, here's the Jira to raise this. Like that's at least a short-term working way. And then once we figure out how to do something better, we can.
Yeah, I think in that sense might work very similar to, for example, with what we have for Mac Stadium support, that we receive the tickets of whatever happened to the machines and we decide when to raise a ticket officially, because we cannot handle or whatever, but it's an internal process of us, right?
Just at least to start. Like in the end, it would be nice if like, hey, any Mac machine goes down, open a ticket over here or something, right? Like, or the thing is with that is even like, maybe it's we would ask people to do both if that's possible, because like other collaborators might see the Mac machines down and Or maybe, yeah, I don't know. Could
Yep,
be
that
like
makes
we
sense.
asked. Anyway, let's come up with, I think what we just described would work short term, and then we can figure out what'll work better. Yeah, and if you're happy to talk to them, otherwise, like,
Yep.
yep.
I will be on holidays next week, like the full week, but I will try to do that before that, so probably tomorrow or today. So at
Okay,
least kick
maybe
off the
if you can
conversation.
include me in the discussion, then like if you're off
Yep.
next week, I can continue it on, and because I think that is kind of one of our important things is to get that now that you've helped onboard them, it's like, okay, how do we make sure we have the SLA style stuff going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me add a note for that. Okay. Yeah, I put it a comment on the QA section, I think. Yeah. Okay, next one is macOS refused to start Node when this is for the tarbals. This is the 3538. 38. I didn't make any progress on that at all since the last meeting. I plan to work on it potentially when I'm back from holidays. So yeah, based on the last discussion on that, I will need to book a meeting with probably Michael to do some fast pairing session on that and see how far we can get, because yeah, mostly it's going to be changes with Jenkins and stuff like that, but the process overall seems kind of okay. So it's going to be more like a Jenkins Jenkins magic, and also to see if we can find a more easy way to land this commit in the pipeline, because otherwise we need to just land it and extend it to the release pipelines and so on. So maybe we need to find, the good moment where nobody's working on a release or something, just to don't pollute the staging for everybody. Yeah, that will be yeah. And I think the next topic in the agenda is the R2 migration, which is the issue 3580, which I'm not following, so not very sure
I think we
how
probably
much.
should have started with that one because I think Moshe is probably the most in.
Yeah, I
the loop.
just thinking about now.
Oh well.
Yeah, we're gonna start with that one, the next one then. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, because Moss is now not here in the call. So
Yeah,
not sure
I'm not sure what the stat that is. I know that there was a PR that landed on a Node core repo.
Yep.
And I think there was another PR which I don't think has landed in the build repo to the promotion scripts.
It was pending, if I remember well.
Yeah, so I think there's been activity, but yeah, I don't know what the actual current state and how much more needs to be done. It may be the thing, like, I mean, the problem we had before was that some of the stuff can't really be tested until someone tries a release with things done, and that's where we had problems before, which is the stuff all looked okay and we landed it, and then people tried to do releases and it basically blocked, ran into problems that blocked the releases. So yeah, I think there is progress being made, but it is slow, steady rather than a sprint to try and get.
Yeah.
From my perspective, this one would also be one that would be good to get the Linux IT involved in. Like, it seems like a priority to me. I still get, like, I don't know, it feels like every single day some emails telling us from Cloudflare that is switching back and forth between the two servers. So not just the
I
R2.
mean, we haven't switched the downloads fully to R2, so you're still hitting.
Right.
I think I can't remember which way around. There's like a download URL and a dist URL, and one of them is going through R2 and the other one is going straight to the servers. And I think probably the one most people are going through is still going straight to the servers, because we were not confident yet that the R2 stuff was all in shape. But I
But it's
imagine,
still like it
when
still does rely on those servers to some extent. I think even once that switches, right?
No, the hope is that once we switch, we could go. the work currently going on is to actually stage stuff in R2 as the builds are being done, and then promotion would promote them from R2, from one R2 bucket to another. So the idea then would be that the binaries would be in R2 and not have to come from our servers. We are not switching. So at the moment it's parallel, so we wouldn't be doing a all-in-one switchover. I guess in theory we might then maybe in the future could discuss whether we still need, those servers. I think
That was
we
kind
would.
of where I was going. Like, can we get
Yeah.
to the point where we don't need those servers at all?
I think it's possible down the line. I mean, I expect that we would need to be pretty sure
Sure.
that, and everything. But what we're working to at the moment is to get to a state where we can, you do the builds in the release CI, and the theory now is that they would be put both onto the server and into R2, into a staging area on R2, so it's not public until we promote.
Yeah.
And I think that is being done, but I think we still haven't got the promotion thing to copy the staged assets across when we do the promotion as part of the release. And that might be the thing where, I say we're trying to do it steady, because it may be that when we deploy it, we may still find problems when we do a release, because we don't really have a way of easily testing. We can stimulate bits of the release process, but without actually doing the release, there's some bits of it that, until we actually go live with everything, we don't know. And I think there is a PR to do that promotion bit. And I think, I don't know if it's been solved. I remember there was a comment about that promotion script does both automatic promotion of the nightlies and the manual promotion when the releaser runs things. And I think there was a question mark or a review in that PR, which is, I think it would work. There was a suggestion that what the PR had would work for the manual promotion, but may not be catering for the automatic one. It's a bit complicated because of how we have multiple ways of putting binaries up on the downloads. But yeah, I think maybe long term we could get to a position where we don't need the servers. So the ones we're currently hosting the downloads on, but I don't think we're there yet. And even when we get the R2 stuff working, I suspect it'll be a good few months at least, or maybe a year before comfortable, turning the old stuff off. But
yeah, I was just like, my main take is like, that's something where people complain when it's not available. So it would be nice to have the Linux IT who the promise was of like quick SLA versus like when our volunteers are available. So it'd be good to have them sort of on top of that and ready to.
But I mean, the original way we implemented it was that we continued to upload everything to our servers, and then promotion would then try and do an all-in-one upload to R2. And that's quite a lot of data to shift over to R2, and that was running into problems because as soon as we upload things and promote, we find the instability is worse, and that can affect the releases if the servers get so bad that the releases can't actually get into them. So yeah, like I said, there is still issues there. I think they are less since we did start serving some of the stuff out of R2, or at least it did feel at one point that we got complaints every couple of days. Or
I don't
maybe
know if we fixed something,
assuming
or
that they're just being ignored. I don't know, but
like I don't know if we fixed something, or people just now are like, okay, well, we've complained a bunch of times and there's no point complaining more, right? Hopefully it's we fix some stuff.
Okay, I think that's more or less all for the official agenda. There is anything else that we want to discuss?
We don't need to discuss it, but I forgot to mention, I did copy an email, and I think there was an issue that I opened and I probably closed it. We got a request from Ozil to do a survey for the open power machines we have, the Linux on VPC. That email basically more or less said, as a project. So I think this email went to all projects that have resources on the open power stack. They just said, please complete this survey, and if you don't respond to the survey, we may turn your VMs off, but we could turn them back on if you do then subsequently. So I have completed that survey on behalf of the Node project, and I sent it's a Google form, so Google form emailed me my answers, and I forwarded that on to Build just so that people were aware of what I told Ozil. But it wasn't just what we're currently doing, but there were a few questions about would you be interested in some future stuff, and some of the stuff maybe, some of the stuff probably not. But yeah, it was just a generic survey, but it was more the sort of it wasn't really threatening, it was quite friendly, but it was the mere suggestion that the VMs might be turned off. It's like, oh no. So hopefully that's all dealt with. But yeah, that was an FYI. Yeah, that was your discussion prompting me to remember that did come through, and I did that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's a great marketing tactic for getting good replies to the forms. Definitely. But yeah, thanks, Richard, for taking care of the form. So yeah, I think that's all for the official agenda for today. I have a small topic for the offline section because I forgot to mention that before. So if we can stay a little bit, that will be great. But yeah, I think that's all for the public streaming part of the session. Thank you for watching us.